Today's question, what is a way of speeding up my workouts? A very quick way of actually speeding up workouts, and not many people do just because of access to gym equipment, is what are called supersets or giant sets. And a superset, we do them in RPM, the gym here all the time, and I generally program people all the time because it's the way I train. Especially if you have access to your own gym gear at home, or you have access to a gym where you can kind of hoard equipment. A superset is when you do 2 exercises back to back. And generally, when you're doing a superset, you would do antagonistic muscles. So for example, you might do a chest movement, and then a push, and then you might do a pull movement for your back together. So you might program someone to do a bench press and a 1-arm row together. So their cardiovascular system might not be fatigued, so they're not that breathless. But when you're doing a bench press, your chest might be fatigued and your triceps are, but your biceps and back are fine. So because you're cardiovascularly okay and your back and biceps are okay, you can link that with a back movement, and so that you're doing that while you're recovering, and then you can rest for 60, 90 seconds, 2 minutes, or whatever you need to recover. But because you're doing movements back to back, you're going to be resting a lot less, so you're going to get through your workouts a lot quicker. Now, if you're really super duper strong, and you're doing loads of work and loads of, you're training, you're an elite athlete or physique person like that, you're probably not going to do a lot of supersets, because literally the weight you're moving, you're going to need to rest. But if you're a regular person, like me, or maybe you, then you can do supersets because you don't need that much time to rest, and they're a very easy way of doing workouts back to back. So generally when I program supersets for people, they're antagonistic muscles, which means you're doing opposite muscles. So if you're doing the biceps, you can include triceps. If you're doing chest, you can include back. If you're doing shoulders, you can do back. If you're doing quads, you can do hamstrings. If you're doing glutes, you can do quads with them. Things like that. So they're opposite muscles. So while one muscle group is resting, you can work the other muscle group, then rest completely and repeat it again. The other method I like using for people, and this goes for smaller muscle groups, where people might at home particularly might have only access to lighter weights, are what are called giant sets. And giant sets are generally doing 3 to 4 movements back to back in a one after the other, and it really causes a lot of metabolic stress and a metabolic fatigue and a big pump in the muscles. So you might link exercises like for your shoulders, you might do 3 shoulder movements together. So you might do a side raise, then a rear delt fly, and then a shoulder press. So the side raise is the hardest. So when you're fully rested, do that first because it works lateral head your deltoid. Then you do a rear delt fly for your rear deltoids, which is medium movements in difficulty. And then you do a shoulder press, which, because the weights are light, you do that last because the weights are light. But because your shoulders are fatigued and the weights are light, the shoulder press will still be difficult. So by linking all those 3 movements together, you're really driving stress into the shoulders and a lot of blood into the shoulders, causing a lot of muscular damage. And it is a very easy way of compressing, doing a lot of density or condensing your training into one giant set. Because I lost the name, giant sets. And then resting at the end of doing the 3 movements and then repeating. Now, I don't recommend that to everyone all the time, like doing a giant set of, let's say, squats. If you're doing back squats, doing a giant set of back squats, walking lunges, and then step ups, you're just going to collapse. That's brutal. But for smaller muscle groups, like again the shoulders or your arms, doing giant sets is a very effective way of training in a very short space of time. So that's kind of my recommendation to people if they want to speed up their workouts, is to do supersets using antagonistic muscle sets, and then for the smaller muscle groups, do giant sets. And that can really shorten your workouts because you're literally shortening your rest times between sets. So rather than doing 6 movements, you might be doing 6 movements, do one movement, do one movement, do one movement, do one movement. You might be doing 6 movements still, but you might block them into 2 movements, break, 2 movements, break, 2 movements, break. And that will just speed up your workouts. Now, it's not doable in a lot of gyms because you won't be allowed to hold equipment, but if you can use it in your programs and your training at home or whatever, it is a very quick way of speeding up your workouts. So hope that helps, guys. If you have any questions, you can ask in the comments below, and as always, hope you have a good day, and we'll talk to you later. Cheers.